So, good evening, everyone. So, I am here to state some questions about the research study, which entitled Relations Among Cultural Identity, Motivation for Language Learning, and Perceived English Language Proficiency for International Students in the United States. What are the issues presented in the study? So first is the cultural identity and language learning. Interestingly, cultural identity can both promote and inhibit language learning. According to Arsenelli and Kaufmans in 2010, Ngo and Lee in 2016, and Sheen in 2010. Next issue is the motivation and language learning. Motivation may influence language learning and achievement through a variety of mechanisms, including persistence, strategy use, and attitudes. According to Ardashiva et al. In 2012, Chang and Liu in 2013, Newells 2001, and Vandergriff in 2005. Second question, what do the literature or other studies say about this issue? Some studies, example, Glaszik et al. 2011 and Sheen in 2010 suggested that cultural identity promoted language learning. More specifically, many studies, example, Lee in 2002 and Sheen in 2010, Chi in 2000 found that affiliation to a cultural group promoted heritage language. Example, the home language. Learning outcomes such as language proficiency and desire to learn the heritage language. The most well-known two-dimensional approach is Barry's 1997 and 2003 model of acculturation. In this model, there are four types of acculturation based on the individual's connections to their culture of origin, example, home culture, and the dominant culture in their current location, assimilation in which individuals have low home but high host cultural identity, integration in which individuals have high host and home. Identification, separation in which individuals wish to maintain their home culture and reject the host culture, and marginalization in which individuals show little connection to either culture. In order to explore motivation, many studies use the framework of self-determination theory, which focuses on the roles of intrinsic and intrinsic motivation, according to Cesar and Lees in 2020 and DC and Ryan in 1985. Both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation can be important drivers of language learning, according to Noels in 2001b. Intrinsic motivation in the learning a new language means that an individual is motivated to learn the language for personal growth or enjoyment, whereas extrinsic motivation means that an individual seeks to learn a language in order to achieve instrumental goals such as greater career opportunities, according to Noels et al. In 2003. Question number 3. How was the study conducted and interpreted? So, the study was conducted using path analysis. So, path analysis was used to test relations among cultural identity, language learning motivation, and English proficiency. The results of the path analysis model indicated a good model fit. So, participants were recruited from multiple universities throughout the United States. Only students with international student visas and whose native language was not English were asked to complete the questionnaire. A total of 100 responses were collected. 23 participants were excluded from data analysis, 3 due to incomplete information, and 20 because the participants missed more than one of 3 attention check questions. Thus, the final sample included 77 respondents, 35 men and 42 women, including 37 undergraduate students, 48.1%, 36 graduate students, 46.8%, and 4 students, 5.2%, who did not report their student level. Next question, what are the findings, implications, and conclusions of the study? Overall, consistent with previous research, the findings indicated that cultural identity predicted motivation in language learning and language proficiency, although whether ethnic identity or American identity was the significant predictor varied across outcome variables. Specifically, stronger ethnic identity was associated with greater motivation for learning English and lower English proficiency, whereas American identity was associated with greater language learning motivation. The findings suggest that in order to promote English proficiency, it is not enough to only focus on language per se or motivation in learning English. We should understand the role that identity, especially cultural identity, plays in the language learning process according to Oshoda in 2011. In conclusion, the study provides a new perspective on the relations between cultural identity and language learning among international students. To our knowledge, the present study is the first to examine the combined influences of cultural identity and motivation on language proficiency using a quantitative method. Question number 5. What are the future research directions of this study? There are two additional suggestions for the future research of the study. First, identify is dy- identify is dynamic. So longitudinal designs are needed to further explore the process of identity change. Second, future research should examine differences across students' population. Example, international students and domestic students who also speak English as a second language, international students from different countries or cultural backgrounds. In summary, further research should replicate and extend these findings since understanding international students' experiences has important implications for creating programs that help international students to adapt the whole society and facilitate their academic and personal success. The last question, what concepts of the module and this study have in common? State at least three ideas. So the module of the study shares the following characteristics. First, the importance of social experience, without which students will never acquire such language-specific knowledge, unless and until that language is used with and around them, and they will learn to use the language spoken around them regardless of their native language or linguistic inheritance. Second is the learning process. Based on this framework, explanations of SLA phenomena include assumptions that second language is a highly complex skill and that learning second language is not fundamentally different from learning other highly complex skills. And learners' differences, this framework calls for consideration of emotional involvement in learning, such as affective factors of attitude, motivation, and anxiety level. This focus also considers biological differences associated with age and sex, as well as some differences associated with aspects of processing. So that's all, and thank you for watching.